try to cut this a little shorter so that we can get you back to the hotel before dinner. But I wanted to thank you all for coming. My name is Veronica Gonzales. I'm Senior Vice President for Government Relations and Community Relations at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. I know some of you from prior trips, and I know some of you from when I served in the House back from 2005 until 2012. I served 4 terms there. Today I am at the University of Texas, and I have some very distinguished members in the education community joining us today for this panel. They have very long resumes, so I'm not going to get into their long resumes, but I would like to say a few words about each of them because I think it's important for you to know who they are. Right here to my left is Dr. Guy Bailey, my boss. Dr. Bailey is the founding president of the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, which opened in 2015. In 2019, he was named the Border Texan of the Year for his contributions to education and healthcare in the Rio Grande Valley. And prior to being at our university, Dr. Bailey served as president of the University of Alabama and Texas Tech University, chancellor of the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and provost and executive vice president of the University of Texas, San Antonio. That's Dr. Bailey. Sitting right next to him is Lizzy de la Garza Putegnat. For the last 18 years, Lizzy has been passionately working and volunteering in the Rio Grande Valley. She's currently the Vice President of Marketing and Public Relations for Titan Fuel, a vertically integrated company dedicated to maritime logistics, fuel trading, and fuel exports. In 2021, Lizzy was appointed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott to the Texas State Technical College Board of Trustees, Board of Regents, a position that she continues to hold to this day. Thank you for being here, Lizzy. Sitting next to Lizzy is Ms. Letty Garcia. Letty Garcia is a trustee on the Edinburg Consolidated Independent School District, which is one of the largest school districts in the nation. She is serving her second term on the Board of Trustees and is active in numerous organizations throughout the community and is currently employed by the Hidalgo County Commissioner Elitores in Precinct 4. Thank you for joining us today, Letty. And our last panelist is Dr. Tony Lara. Dr. Lara strongly believes in the philosophy of Horace Mann that education is the greatest equalizer among men, which serves as his guiding principle as Superintendent of Schools for South Texas Independent School District. Over the last 30 years, Dr. Lara has filled various roles in education, from being a teacher to serving as Director for Human Resources, later serving 12 years at Region 1 Education Service Center, as the Deputy Director for Leadership School and Community Support, and since 2018, he has been serving as the Superintendent for South Texas ISD. So please welcome all of our distinguished panelists. So Dr. Bailey, I'm going to start with a really hard question for you here today, and that is that we're always hearing that about the cost of higher education, and many believe that a 4-year degree is either no longer necessary or is unaffordable. Would you tell us why you believe that a 4-year degree is of high value and what you're doing here at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley to keep college affordable?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, appreciate all of you being here. We know you've taken time out of your busy schedule to come to the Valley, but we think you'll love it. I've been here 11 years now, and I wouldn't live anyplace else. It's really a great place to be. The question of affordability of higher education is a very serious one. And when we started UT-RGV, we took that issue to heart, and we based our university on making it an affordable place to go to school. Because of that, we have the lowest debt load by far in the state of Texas. It's about half the average debt load at other universities, and one of the lowest among public universities in the United States. And so, a little more about that. We have a 4-year tuition guarantee for all of our students. We only charge for 12 hours. If you take more than 12 hours, we don't charge anything extra for that. And we do that because we want you to take 15 and graduate in 4 years. The faster you graduate, the less expensive that is. And so we try to motivate. If you take 18, you got 6 hours free. You take a full load, you're going to graduate with a semester free. And so that's very important as well. Then we limit our tuition our tuition, this is our own rule. Nobody put this on us. We never charge more than the payout of the full Pell Grant plus a Texas grant. So our tuition will always be lower than that. And remember, 62% of our students are on Pell Grant. So it's absolutely important that we do that. Now the result of that is this past year, according to UT system data, 90% of our full-time undergraduates, it's 90% of the full-time undergraduates paid no tuition, no mandatory fees. The second part is really important too, because fees are often as much as tuition. If you got a child in college, you know that, young person in college, you know that. And so, because of that, our students graduate with very little debt. And what that means is when they graduate, instead of paying off their college loans, they can buy a house, buy a car, be productive members of a society, start building families and doing the things that make society better. So our whole university was built on that premise. And we think that the value of that is apparent. Our students go into the workforce, become productive citizens, and we really appreciate what they do.
Thank you, Dr. Raley. Lizzy, we were at Texas State Technical College, South Texas College, and then of course the university. Would you tell us how TSTC is different from a two-year college?
Yes, and thank you all for still sticking around. I was worried that half the room would be empty by now, so kudos to you all. But at Texas State Technical College, we like to say that we're different in various ways. We're data-driven, performance-based, student-centered, and mission-focused. So how are we data-driven? All of our decisions on programs, our curriculums are based on data, and they're based on real-time data. So we ask employers, what are the jobs that are in demand, and what are those skill sets that they need? And so then we reverse engineer based on those skill sets needed to then formulate curriculums based on those jobs in demand. We are performance-based in that 100% of our funding formula is based on outcomes. What does that mean? That means that while your typical community colleges are paid, they have the authority to levy property taxes. As Texas State Technical College is a state institution, so we are appointed by the governor, and we do not have the authority to levy property taxes. So our funding comes straight from the state legislature, and it's based on how many jobs we place in the Texas economy and what are those wages. And so it's directly related to outcomes, performance-based. How many students are we not only graduating, but placing in high-paying jobs? The other thing is that we're student-centered. Most of our decisions are based on what is in the best interest of that student. And so sometimes we've had to get rid of programs that we thought was not in the best interest of that student because there was little to no demand for those jobs, and or those jobs were low wages. And so we thought, why are we wasting the students' time and money on a program that they're going to have a hard time finding a job for? And so always with the student's best interest in mind. And then mission focus. Since TSTC was founded 60 years ago, we had one mission, and we stay in our lane, and that is to place more Texans in great paying jobs. That is the way we keep Texas as the #1 state for business. That is the way we keep Texas as the 8th largest economy in the world. And so our focus is really on focusing on what does industry need, and how can we propel that. And I want to say that we are the only higher ed institution that actually has economic development written on our education code. And so because we specialize in focusing on our clients' needs, which is our students and our employers, we stay in that lane providing these specialized technical careers. And so that's a little bit of how we are different, and it's made us very successful because of that incentive. We have an incentive to graduate students in the most quickest and effective way possible to get them working, to get them a job, so that they can be receiving income and contribute to the Texas economy.
Thank you, Lizzy. And so Letty, Dr. Lara, or Ms. Garcia, Dr. Lara, let me ask you this, because public schools are going to get a lot of attention this session. We already know that, right? And they did last session, they will again. It is no secret that education saving accounts, which are commonly referred to as vouchers, will be debated again this session. In fact, a bill was filed just today in the Senate. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a good look at it, but let me ask you, if ESAs are to pass this session, what would you want to see to be included in that legislation? I'll start with you, Ms. Garcia.
And yes, thank you to all of you for being here in attendance with us. As far as the vouchers, I know it's a hot topic, and I would like to take this issue and discuss that the concerns of the vouchers, these monies are being taken away from public funding. These vouchers, as we all know, it's coming from taxpayer dollars. So my question is, and it's a big concern, is that TEA holds high standards for all public schools. TEA regulates public schools to take state exams, submit budgets, and hire qualified teachers. If the vouchers pass, will the private schools who receive these vouchers, will they be held accountable as public schools are held accountable? Will TEA have private schools who receive these vouchers, have them take state exams? Will they submit budgets as public schools submit? And will they be mandated to hire qualified teachers and hold these private schools accountable as they hold public schools accountable? And I would just like to share that Hidalgo County is considered, as we know, one of the poorest counties in the state of Texas and in the United States. Edinburg Consolidated Independent School District is the largest school district in enrollment in Hidalgo County and second largest in the Rio Grande Valley. Our footprint covers 1,000 square miles. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Lara, same question to you. What would you want to see included in that legislation?
Well, there are three particular.
I think your mic.
Thank you. So there are three particular areas that I'm concerned about, and much like Ms. Garcia just mentioned, the first one is funding. I want to ensure that any funding that's allocated for these vouchers isn't taken away from public schools. We already have deficit budgets. A lot of our school districts are having to go into their fund balance to just budget out for the year, and we have increasing costs. That's no surprise and no secret to anybody here, but ensure that funding stays whole for public schools before we start looking at spreading that money around too thin. The second area is accountability. You know, we have academic accountability that we're responsible to, both at the state and federal levels. We have accountability for our finances. So every year we have independent audits that are performed, and we also have to report to the state, and we're rated by the state on our financial conditions. And so these are areas that I hope will be required of others. The third area that I'm concerned about is accessibility. You know, our schools take everybody that comes through our doors, and I hope that the services that they would have available for our special populations, our special need children, our bilingual children, and even those children, those students who are interested in pursuing CTE and establishing careers and certifications, I hope that they have that equal opportunity. So those are my three concerns: is the funding, the accountability, and the accessibility.
Thank you so much for that. Dr. Bailey, I know that we have been striving, and we've heard about this really throughout the day, we've been striving to keep our best and our brightest, our talent at home. But that means offering students a wide array of degree programs from bachelor's level to doctorate level, professional level. What are you doing at the university to expand educational opportunities for students so that they can remain in South Texas?
Well, thank you. As you know, since we opened the institution, we've been adding new programs. The medical school, of course, is the first example. And by the way, we're now hiring back students who graduated from our medical school and have gone elsewhere to do their residencies. So that's a wonderful thing. And we have 7 residency programs here in the valley that we oversee as well. So we also have the only school of podiatric medicine in the state of Texas. And that's absolutely crucial for doing things like managing diabetes. And so you forget about the role of podiatrists in preserving limbs. We have that. And We have a School of Physical Therapy that opens this fall in Harlan. And we have Representative Lopez and Senator Adamina Hosa here in their district. And that school and the School of Occupational Therapy, we have many students who leave the Valley for things like that. We have some innovative PhD programs in human genetics. There are only a couple at medical schools, but that's extremely important because remember, diabetes is partly a matter of diet and partly a matter of genetics, and understanding that balance is one of the keys to doing that. We've also established a number of other programs at the master's and undergraduate level, cybersecurity, business analytics. What we've tried to do, every program we've developed, we've looked carefully at the job market, at what the state of Texas needs, and what the Rio Grande Valley needs. So we've been very careful in doing that to provide opportunities for our students. Number one complaint I get from parents, not the cost of higher education. We've got that pretty well under control, but that their kids are leaving the Rio Grande Valley and not coming back. And so we're trying to take that seriously and develop programs that keep our best and our brightest right here. By the way, we need more jobs for engineering. I have 5,500 engineering graduates. They're great students. They graduate, they go to Houston, they go to San Antonio. So if we get more jobs for engineers here, that would be absolutely terrific. The LNG coming to the Valley really helps there.
Thank you. And Dr. Reddy, I can attest this because I've seen it through the work that I'm doing is having to keep up with the numbers. I think we've added like 45 degree programs just in the time since UT-RGV opened, right? But we have to work with the coordinating board to make sure that there are things that the community needs and the data supports it, right?
That's right. And actually, just yesterday they approved a doctorate in optometry for the Rio Grande Valley. University of Houston worked closely in establishing this, and we have a huge shortage of optometrists along the border and in rural counties of Texas, and we'll begin filling that need very quickly. A lot of those students will come from right here in the Rio Grande Valley. They'll have good professional jobs. They'll make a difference for their families and for the counties that they live in as well.
So Lizzy, you were mentioning how you are placing students into jobs at TSTC. What is your placement rate? And then could you also tell us and give some examples of what TSTC has done working hand in hand with industries to align programs with the industry workforce needs?
Absolutely. So I failed to mention TSTC has 11 campuses throughout Texas, and we have a 12th on the way. It still hasn't been built yet, but there's a 12th one on the way. And so statewide, our placement rate is 83%. That is a market-leading placement rate. Traditionally, your community colleges range from 20 to 60% placement rates. But again, because of our funding formula, because our goal is to place more Texans in great paying jobs, there's no wonder why we have a market-leading rate of 83%. And just a report that came out from the Higher Education Coordinating Board, 80% of the power linemen in Texas come from TSTC. 60% of advanced manufacturing technicians come from TSTC. 40% of your diesel mechanics from TSTC. And 30% of building trades graduates come from TSTC. And TSTC produces the highest amount of welders in the state of Texas. And so that job placement rate, again, because of the incentive that we have to place more Texans in great paying jobs, that is why we are leading the market. Now, in terms of industry partners, we have over 7,000 industry partners throughout the state of Texas. TSTC works very closely with industry. We don't just have industry advisory councils to check a box. We actually work with them. They help us build our curriculum. They help us tailor training. And so the other great thing about TSTC is, in addition to the credits and the degrees, we have a continuing ed workforce training program where we work with employers for shorter term training to produce higher skills. So sometimes they come to us and they say, you know what, we need to either reskill or upskill our employees. How can you help us? And so we work with the governor's office, the Texas Workforce Commission through Skills Development Fund grants to be able to help these employers train their employees at no cost to them. And so we have a lot of different partnerships. Here locally, we work very closely with the hospitals for our allied health program and our nursing program. We work closely with SpaceX. we work closely with Tesla. In fact, Tesla asked TSTC to have the 2 training centers for Tesla auto mechanics. We work closely with McGregor as SpaceX has half of the techs that test the engines in McGregor, Texas come from TSTC. And there is just 7,000 industry partners, and so we work very closely with them. And again, tell those needs. And I'll just share a little story. Before I worked in the private sector, I used to work at the Brownsville Economic Development Council, and I fulfilled different roles. One of them was being Director of Business Retention and Expansion, and Director of Business Recruitment. And in that role, I met with over 300 employers in Brownsville, and I would ask them, what is your #1 challenge? And 99% of the time, their response had to do with workforce. And when we were meeting with site selectors and trying to recruit companies to the valley, we would ask them, what's the #1 concern or question? And their response was, we want to make sure you have a skilled workforce ready for us to go to town. And so you can't have economic development without workforce development. It's that skilled workforce that really propels economic development. And so we have a very robust workforce training program, and work very closely with industry partners to make sure that we can drive economic development in our state.
Thank you so much. And I think it's very clear that the Valley is educating its population here, and that we are doing what we can to make sure that the workforce needs are being met. Of course, to do that, you have to have good educators, right? You have to have good teachers. And hiring and retaining high-quality teachers is critical to school districts across the state. So let me ask Ms. Garcia, Dr. Lara, what can the legislature do to help you to retain the best teachers? Aside from teacher pay raises, we always hear about teacher pay raises, but aside from that, what else can they do to help?
Well, my take on that, I think the state needs to continue to help fund and expand the teacher incentive allotment. The high-performing teachers get awarded through the TIA anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 a year. These are extra monies apart from their salary, and this is just, if they would expand the teacher incentive allotment, this will impact more teachers. These salaries from the TIA that they get awarded, it's for 5 years. So this would really help to recruit more teachers. Now, I would like to touch on the teacher residency program. I think all school districts would welcome this. Now, if the state would help fund the monies to the teacher residency students in the program, it would help both the students and the school districts. If not, the districts would have to dip into their fund balance, but again, we need to not forget that many school districts are in the deficit when they balance their budget. Now, students that go through the student-teacher route, they are much better prepared. They're out-of-the-box thinkers, in my opinion. They're observant and we can mold them. And that's my take on them.
Dr. Lara?
Thank you. Well, we know every year it's becoming harder and harder to secure the teachers that we need. And here in the Valley, because we're so close to one another, we're all competing for the same pool. So yeah, salary and benefits is certainly a factor to consider, but I think we need to do a better job at recognizing our educators, our teachers, as professionals. I think sometimes we demean them and we forget how important they are. I think everybody sitting in this room has been through 1 or 2 teachers in their lifetime, so I think we need to start there and really recognize them for the work that they do, because a lot of us wouldn't be here today if it weren't for them. The other thing I think we need to do is of course, incentivize them to stay on the job, but we're seeing that more and more teachers within the first couple of years are leaving the profession. They are overworked, underpaid, and we hear that story all the time. So I think we need to do a better job at possibly creating mentorship programs for them, where they're not left alone. We don't give them a key to a room and say, there you go teach. I think we need to spend more time developing their skills. They need more professional development. They need more time to observe and visit classrooms. And if you've ever been in a school, you know that's nearly impossible, but somehow we need to accomplish that. And I don't know if that's through the possibility of maybe looking at a teacher calendar. They're required to work 187 days. I don't know what the magic is in 187, but maybe we look at playing with that number a little bit like we did for students. We went from number of days to minutes. So maybe we do the same thing for teachers, but they need that flexibility to have time to be out of the classroom, to have discussions, to be mentored, and to be respected for the work that they do.
I think we all agree with that, and I don't think we appreciate our teachers enough until we look back on our own experiences and realize what wonderful teachers we all had, and so we need to support our teachers. So Dr. Bailey, students are now being asked to choose a career track while they're in the 8th grade. How many of us knew what we wanted to do in the 8th grade, right? But that can be challenging, but what are we doing at UT-RGV to create pipelines for students to transition from high school to college while staying on the track and making sure that we're keeping the costs down?
Yeah, that's a real good question. We have collegiate high schools. There are 3 of them here that are up and operating in the Rio Grande Valley. One in Harlingen, which is the first one, been in operation several years. We just opened one in Edinburg. We have one in McAllen as well, and we also work with other districts as well. But what we try to do is ensure that students who go to the collegiate high schools get in the right core curriculum. That's a key thing, because you can take courses that count, but not count toward your degree. They'll transfer, but they won't count toward your degree. So getting the right core, for example, if you're going to be an engineer, your math can't be college algebra. It's got to be calculus. And so making sure that students take the right courses so they can efficiently transfer or go into UT-RGV and graduate in 2 years and have all of the courses they need for their degree. That's absolutely crucial there. So the collegiate high schools are a key thing. It offers a really seamless transition into college. We've had a number of students graduate, have students go on to other universities around the state of Texas and around the country. Those students are recruited by Ivy League schools, West Coast schools as well. So that's a key thing. We also work closely with our school districts to ensure that students get in the right dual credit courses in high school. Dual credit is good if you take the right courses. If you don't, it can mess up your financial aid later on. We also work to make sure that students are aware of how to apply for financial aid, or aware of what they can get to help them get through. So that preparation and work, and by the way, our transfer agreements with our community colleges really couldn't work better here. They work very smoothly. We have a very good relation. We have articulation agreements on almost every degree. And so we have very little problem there. So if you do that, you build that pipeline, and you get to students early, but it's very important that you take the right courses at the right time in high school to be able to get a degree efficiently without building up your costs.
And we do that as well for students who perhaps want to go into medicine, right? We have pipeline programs set up for them as well.
We do. We have early admission programs, and so we have, for example, I'll just use medicine as an example, but we have it for all of our professional programs. But Carol's MD, and so what you do, you can be provisionally admitted to medical school when you graduate from high school and start at UT-RGV. You have to meet benchmarks all along, and these are usually about 5% students, but what that does, we have a pathway laid out for those students, and if they do what they need to do, they go straight from high school to college, to medical school, and we have a Luminary Scholars program that's even better. Again, this is privately funded. We had $40 million endowment set up to fund this, but students graduate from high school. They are provisionally admitted to the professional program of their choice, all 4 years, no tuition, no mandatory fees. And of course, you can do that at many schools. Here's the kicker. When you graduate and you start the medical school, no tuition, no mandatory fees. You can go all the way through undergraduate school and your professional school without paying any tuition, any mandatory fees. There is a kicker here, and here's the kicker. What we ask you to do, and again, we paid for your entire education all the way through professional school. We ask you to live and work in the Rio Grande Valley for the number of years we paid for after your undergraduate degree. And so that's a way of building the workforce in the valley too. But those pipeline programs, the early admission programs, like the Carol said, the Luminary Scholars Program, all of these help get our students through in a timely manner, get them through professional schools in a timely manner, and we hope to keep them here, but we'll send a lot probably to your city as well.
And just as the Luminary Scholars Program you talked about is merit-based, right? So
that is an entirely merit-based program. It's completely merit. Of course, we hope we get a lot of Valley students, but we get students from Port Arthur, from Laredo, from Austin, San Antonio. I think as far away as Dallas. So we get students all over the state for that. Yes.
thank you. Lizzy, the legislative session has started and everybody submits their legislative requests, right? So how can the legislature help TSTC this session?
So the Texas Association of Manufacturers said, and I quote, "The only thing wrong with TSTC is that you're too small. We need more TSTC campuses throughout Texas. We need more TSTC graduates because these are quality employees." Going back to when I worked with the Brownsville Economic Development Council and I would work with employers, they would tell me, "Lizzy, yes, we need workforce training programs, help us. We only have one request." And I would ask them, "What is that?" "That TSTC provides the training." So at that point, that was before I was on the board, and I thought, whatever TSTC is doing, they're doing something right because all these employers are requesting TSTC be the one to provide the training. So with that said, we do need support. As I mentioned, TSTC does not levy property taxes, and so the biggest challenge is the barrier to capital to build new campuses. It's the barrier to capital to expand within our campuses. And so the only way that we can expand our capacity and graduate more quality technicians is to grow. And so we do need help with the capital construction funding so that we can be able to grow. We are asking the legislature to continue funding our formula model. It works. Since 12 years ago, when our funding changed to an outcome performance-based model, we have seen more jobs, more placement of jobs, and not only that, our wages, the student wages are growing every year continuously, and so it works. We've got the Texas Education Agency asking us, there was a 5-year contract asking TSTC to rewrite the CTE curriculum. And so we see that it works. We see that our students are graduating with a 2-year degree, making 6 figures sometimes, depending on the line of work, the industry. Our electrical linemen, our welders, these are technical jobs that are high-paying jobs, and sometimes there's a stigma that we need to help, set the record straight, but these technical jobs are great-paying jobs that provide well-paying, very good well-paying wages, and so, again, we need help from the legislature to continue growing our footprint so that we can produce more, build our talent pipeline, and again, help propel economic development in Texas.
Thank you. And so let me ask you too, from the public ed area, there was a mention about the collegiate high schools. And I know, Dr. Lara, you have, South Texas ISD has Med High, you have the Science Academy. So there's specialized schools, right? You have same thing with the collegiate high school that focuses on certain tracks. So would you share with our audience what you believe the benefits are to having these types of specialized programs within the schools?
Absolutely. So South Texas ISD is a CTE magnet school. We have 7 campuses. We're the only one in the state, probably the only one in the nation who operates like this, and we've been doing it for 40 years. But we see a lot of advantage, not only in those students who excel in academics, but while they're doing that, they choose a pathway or several pathways. So by the time they leave us, they leave with 1 or 2, possibly 3 certifications. And that's always a great thing to have in your back pocket. A lot of our kids maybe choose to stay in the valley and work, or they go to UT-RGV, and now they have credentials that will help them support their cost of living and their families, and certainly we want to keep them in the valley. We want to build strong communities, and we've got a very unique situation here and a great partnership thanks to Dr. Bailey's vision of these collegiate schools. And all 4 of my high schools, students have opportunities to attend UT-RGV, and I think we started growing that last year, year before, and we're up to about 180 students right now today. So we're real grateful for the opportunity that UT-RGV provides our students, and there's such importance in providing our students the pathways that they're focused on, that they want to be in, that they want to be a part of, because we know that they're going to show up every day and they're going to work very hard to accomplish their goals. So I can't say enough about these collegiate schools and partnerships with UT-RGV, and we also partner with TSTC. So providing our students opportunities here in the valley is important, because anytime you drive up and down the valley, all you see is growth. And so I don't think we have enough jobs to support the growth. So our focus and our mission at South Texas CISD is going to be expanding what we offer in the way of CTE programs, and allowing those students who have particular interests in the industries that are here in the valley and want to stay here in the valley to accomplish those.
Thank you. Dr. Garcia, Ms. Garcia, we'll get you a doctor before long. So, Ms. Garcia, the collegiate high school in Edinburg, and I wish we had enough time for everybody to go see it. It's a beautiful school, right? They're beautiful. Don't look like any high school I ever attended, but what do you see as the benefits for those schools?
Well, the benefit, I will say this, at CISD, we're all about academic choices. Some parents do want their children to attend the collegiate schools. I will share this, our freshmen and sophomore students are taught by high school teachers. Our junior and seniors are taught by college professors. Mind you, all free. When the student is ready to graduate, they will not only graduate with a high school degree, but they'll also have 2 years towards their bachelor's degree. And I mean, this is great. These are great opportunities for all students. Our school is designed to be the pipeline to our local university, UT-RGV. And so the students have a choice whether they want to major in computer science, engineering, education, or a health profession that is a direct starting point for these students. Our collegiate school was built to house 700 students. This is our first year. We have 400 students. And so this spring we will have our first graduating class, and it's a total of 48 students. So it's a great beginning for our collegiate high school. And I do want to give thanks to our partnership with UT-RGV, with Dr. Guy Bailey, and our great district of ECISD, and this partnership, and along with our superintendent, Dr. Mario Salinas, because again, this is all for the students. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Bailey, I want to give you the last words here. I know that the legislature cannot help us win in football, which starts in August 2025. But how can the legislature help our university and universities really across the state?
By the way, if you want football tickets, you can't get them. You can't get a box, they're all sold out. So all of that was sold out a long time before we ever, and thanks to a large gift, this won't be on the back of our students. They'll be able to enjoy this. But anyway, but by the way, one thing I think you've heard here is that in the Valley, unlike any place I've ever been, I'm old and have been around a long time, there's a better alignment between school districts, the university, community colleges. We have a better relationship than any I've ever been part of. So all of these folks are a pleasure to work with. Do a terrific job, and we're very pleased with the quality of students we get. There's some things the legislature can do to help. Some of them the legislature normally does, And normally, the legislature funds enrollment growth. We've been pretty good about that. So we're growing very rapidly, and funding that enrollment growth really helps. And so that's something the legislature normally does. The other thing, in the institutional enhancement funding is what we've used to start new programs. And so we start a new degree program on that, and then once it's up and running and self-supporting, we start a new program. So that's, when you're looking at budgets, think about institutional enhancement there and how that's used to start new opportunities for our students. Some other things, we have, again, there are 3 big health problems in the Rio Grande Valley. Cancer, and I think you heard earlier about our cancer center that's starting up. And again, we're asking for some funding for that. The other is diabetes. We have a diabetes management and limb preservation center. Those 2 things have to go together, right? You can't preserve limbs without managing diabetes. You need podiatrists to do that. That is something we've already gotten some funding to hire people for that. That starts in Arlington, and now is beginning now. Again, we're asking for some funding for that. And again, that helps the health of the valley, the workforce, everything. And you've talked about mental health, I know already. And again, in Arlington, we have an Institute of Neurosciences. And deeper all of the legislators know what that acronym is, which is a parallel to secret, will be very important in helping us deal with mental health issues in the state of Texas. All of those are important initiatives, and we'd appreciate the attention you might be able to give to those, because it'll make a difference for Texans around the state, for UT-RGV, and for the Rio Grande Valley. So we deeply appreciate what you do. We also know, I've been around a long time, so I know how hard your job is, and I know you have a lot of competing interests, but what we have worked very hard to do is make sure that the investment you make in us has a big return on it. And I think we've been pretty successful at that, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you to all our panelists at the public ed level, at the technical school level, and at the university level. And we thank you all so very much for your attention and hope you have a great rest of the trip.